Well, we saw him in Mirzya, we saw him in Bhavesh Joshi, and well, I'm all set to be joined by Harsh Varrdhan Kapoor. Hi,
Hey, how's it going?
very well. How's it going with you?
It's going as well as it possibly can in a time so crazy, as crazy as this one. Just extremely blessed to be able to have a comfortable life in a scenario like this.
Yeah,
Almost feels unfair in a way when you look at what's going on
true.
in all around the world. But got to stay positive. I've actually been in a very positive state of mind for the last couple of weeks, and I think just kind of sleeping early and waking up on time and getting some form of exercise in, just to
Yeah.
get those good vibes going in the morning is so important, because it doesn't let you sit there and feel bad for yourself and overthink the situation. So I've actually been really good. I've really been enjoying this time as much as I can, and I'm kind of a stay-at-home kind of guy anyway, So it's not such a drastic thing for me as it may be for some people.
But though, I mean, a lot of us, a lot of people, your colleagues have spoken to, everybody's liking the me time. But, sometimes it does get to you because things like going for a walk or a run, we took for granted.
Right.
We're no longer entitled to that. So, I mean, how does one deal with that, But, it's just very frustrating.
I think the best way to kind of deal with that is to just ground yourself and think about the basic necessities that you have access to that so many people are struggling and fighting for.
Yeah.
And when you actually think of that and put it into perspective, all of those things seem so frivolous. So it's all about what sort of perspective can you bring, how much can you think outside of yourself in the situation. And I think that just makes you so aware and makes you grateful, and then when you feel grateful you feel happy, and it's a constant it's like a circle of that state of mind and way of thinking.
Which is true, because a lot of people are saying this is the time to be just grateful and, to practice gratitude for things that we took for granted, which have just been like gone. You can't go to the gym, you can't go for a drive, things we just thought we were entitled to. And as we are talking, a lot of people are sending hearts for your sneaker collection that we can see in the background.
Yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, there's not too much place in this. I ideally like to not have these in my bedroom, but as of now, they are in my bedroom, and so it can be very distracting. And I'm
No,
big
it's
into.
lovely.
Yeah, it's color coordinated.
Wow.
It's color coordinated. Yeah, I'm a bit OCD like that.
Oh my God. So can I ask you, how many pairs do you possess?
That's the magic question, isn't it? I can't. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. So I I can't do that.
Okay, let me take a guess. 100, 200, 300?
I really want to play this game with you, but I, I think we should save this for a private call. I'll definitely indulge you in private.
Okay, sure. I'm looking forward to when we meet. I'm meeting you after Mirzya. We last met
I
was for
remember.
Mirzya.
I very clearly remember that interview, and you asked me, "Would you do films like Welcome?" And I said no,
Yeah.
and people got very upset. But I mean, I don't. I would, if you ask me the same questions 5 years later, I'd probably still say the same thing. So, yeah, it's not meant to be taken in. It's interesting, when you think about it, because you say something from a very honest place,
Yeah.
but it's people are not always kind of thinking in your realm,
Yeah.
and so, but that's the kind of guy that I am. I really believe a lot in what I do, and I kind of know my strengths and weaknesses, and I do what I do for a reason, and it is what it is.
No, it is good. You stick to your, I mean, abiding by your word. You stick to your word. So, I mean, more power to you, yeah. A lot of people later compromise on, a lot of things, but it's good to have that kind of mindset. Your integrity is what counts in the end.
I feel privileged to be able to kind of make the choices that I do, and they come from a very pure place, and I just feel since some of us have chosen to be artists, and there's already a lot of pollution in art in a lot of ways, so my little responsibility is to make sure I use this privilege to put films out there that, again, look, people may or may not necessarily like,
Yeah.
but they're definitely different from the norm. They're definitely authentic and original in their own ways. They're trying to push the boundaries of what can be mainstream, and what sort of films you expect to see youngsters in at the start of their Bollywood career, especially if they're from film families, and you have that expectation. So the whole idea for me was to kind of put my personality out there, put my tastes and sensibilities out there, and whoever wants to come on that journey with me, I think it's going to be a really interesting and exciting one. And I'm not doing it for effect or anything. It's just I genuinely love the films that I do. They're films that I would personally like to watch. And I think it's all about doing work that you believe in, and standing by that work, because cinema is such a polarizing art form, in a lot of ways, where you can make something and some people can absolutely love it, and some people can not kind of get into it. So yeah.
Which is true to any kind of art, actually. You either love it or you hate it.
Completely.
It's always that same reaction.
Completely. And I think within that as well, that's really interesting that you say that, because within that, I think the more personal something is, and maybe at times the more indulgent something is, you then tend to have even more contrasting opinions, because if something is not really palatable to everybody, then the people that love it really, really love it and follow it and cherish it because it's different and there's nothing quite like it.
True.
But the people that don't like it, then don't like it with a passion. And I think art is supposed to do that. It's supposed to divide people. It's supposed to start a conversation. And otherwise, we could do something else with our lives, that also paid well. But that's my thing, that doesn't have to be for everybody. That's just kind of where I kind of come from. And very lucky to have done the two films that I've done, I think, for sure.
And you had a third one coming, and everybody here, somebody's written, waiting for AK versus AK. Abhinav Bindra.
Yeah, so I have a few coming up. So AK versus AK, I'm actually only there very briefly in the film. It's a cameo. It's me teaming up again with my director, Bhavesh Joshi, Vikramaditya Motwane. My father is the lead along with Anurag Kashyap. So therefore, the title AK versus AK. It's a Netflix original film, and we were lucky to wrap up shoot just before the pandemic and the lockdown. Mm-hmm. So it actually wrapped up end of Feb, and I have not too long in the film, but I don't want to talk too much about it. But the film is extremely interesting, and just to be a part of a film like that, I think is another part, is something that I'm going to cherish. And I also think this is the approach is like, even in the West, for example, if Brad Pitt early in his career did a small role in a True Romance or like a Burn After Reading, it's still one of the most memorable parts of his filmography. You don't always have to be the main man. You have to. For me, I'm kind of looking at it as I want to have a great collection of films, in my filmography. So to just work with Vikram twice, back to back, first of all, is unbelievable. Something I never thought would happen. Then to share screen space with my dad in a film directed by Vikram, who did Bhavesh, and then also share screen space with Anurag, was just amazing, and so that should be out on Netflix sometime later this year. And then I have a film, a thriller drama that I'm also doing for Netflix as the lead, which is supposed to roll October 5th till the end of November. Those are the tentative dates, and hopefully I think we should be able to make that. Fingers crossed. And then will be the Bindra biopic, which will be a theatrical release.
Wow. So, have you started work on, has the shoot happened? The first schedule or something on the Bindra biopic?
Bindra biopic is very far away from that, to be honest. Bindra biopic, we have now a writer called Sayami, who wrote Mirzya and some other great films, who's working on the screenplay along with a director called Hiraz Marfatia, who is a new director. He worked with Shekhar Kapoor for many, many years, and he's an extremely bright person. So he and Simon have been working on the script, and they've been making some very promising inroads. And Abhinav has a very unique story. I actually agreed to do the film in 2016 And it's taken us 4 years to reach this point because of back and forths on the script. And Abhinav has a book called A Shorted History that's written by him and Rohit Brijnath. So the initial drafts were nothing like the book. And then when I read the book, I kind of felt that we should go more in that direction because it felt more true to who Abhinav is, as opposed to making a film that's just an audience pleaser for the sake of it. I really didn't want to use the fact that he won the gold in Beijing and make it this dishonest interpretation of who he is, although that would be very tempting to do. I wanted to really delve deep into the mind of an obsessive athlete, and so Saivan and Hiraz, we found an amazing team, and the script is now headed more in that direction. So that's a work in progress, and I always believe that every film has its own journey. Like Bhavesh took so long to be made. Some films like AK versus AK happen more quickly. But it just depends, and I think now we're getting somewhere with the Bindra biopic. So hopefully 2021 is shoot here.
Wow, awesome. So as we've been talking, a couple of people have been asking, does he have crimson tint? Was that crimson tint? So a lot of people, could you just
Crimson tint, yes.
Puzzle?
Crimson tint is, I think these are the crimson tints, if I'm not mistaken.
You guys, those who were wondering, here it is.
Right there.
I mean, sneakers is like a passion, na, for the ones who collect them. Like for me, they're just running shoes, or tennis shoes or running shoes. What is the ideology of a person who collects sneakers?
It's difficult to understand, but I would compare it to watches, maybe.
Okay.
I would compare it to watches. I would compare it to contemporary art. I would say the best way to describe it is it's art that can be worn, that also can ascend in value over time. So it's collectible, wearable art, and it's also a good investment.
Okay. So who has more sneakers, you or Anand?
Anand is a little discreet about his numbers. So I don't. It could be Anand because he's been collecting for a lot longer than I have. I'm quite new to it actually. It's been pretty rapid. But Anand also gives away a lot because he's a very generous and charitable guy, and he likes to buy people things and help people, and it's all about the culture. It's really about meeting like-minded people who share the same passion as you, and then forming relationships that last a lifetime over something that you're both passionate about. And that's happened to me so much. I've met so many incredible people, so many people that I talk to on a daily basis because we have a love for sneakers. Which is kind of the same with films and music in a lot of ways,
So I'm talking about Anand. A lot of people asking, are you missing Sonam, who is in Delhi? And amongst the three of you, who gets into trouble the most amongst the three Kapoor siblings?
I think I do miss Sonam, of course. We have a big home, and now not too many people in it anymore because it's just me, my mom, and dad, and Ria. And I think trouble is, I think we're all pretty grown up now in a lot of ways.
I think kids who got into trouble the most, and do you all argue, still fight? Good memory.
I think I'm a pretty to myself, well-behaved kind of type. Very boring, not doesn't like the interaction too much and likes to kind of be left alone to his own devices and not stick his hands in other people's business and vice versa. That's the kind of person that I am a little bit, I'm not really a prankster or such, of that kind.
Yeah. So, I mean, between you and, Sonam and Ria, who gets into trouble most? You can spill the beans now.
Sonam and Ria. I think Sonam for being outspoken.
Yeah, but that's nice. She's honest. She says things the way they are. I mean, that's something very endearing about her.
It also takes a lot of courage, yeah, especially in this world that we live in where it's so easy for us to be attacked, all the time. And I think that's kind of why I stay out of a lot of it, because I don't want that abuse coming my way. It affects me because I'm a very sensitive guy. Yeah. So I just kind of like to do my own thing in that sense.
She
Did
sticks
you
her neck out.
did you manage to catch any of the two films?
Mirzya and Bhavesh Joshi.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Didn't meet you for Bhavesh Joshi, but I got both the films.
Okay. Great.
I'm going to be talking to your Bhavesh Joshi co-star also, Priyanshu, in a bit.
Priyansh, he's such a fine actor. Such a fine actor. And such a phenomenal experience that was to work with him. We actually lived together
Okay.
for a couple of months to get into character because we played flatmates in the film. So Phantom Productions rented out a two-bedroom for us in Shastri Nagar, where we lived for a couple of months,
Wow.
which was a great experience. Yeah, I really very proud of the film, and it's amazing how fans and bloggers and cinephiles and enthusiasts have kept the film alive. Like,
True, and it's still getting a lot of love.
still getting a lot of love. It's getting more love now 2 years later than it did when it came out, and that just speaks volumes and of longevity, you know, of film. And it's so amazing that a lot of people didn't watch Mirzya and then they watched Bhavesh, and now they watched Mirzya because of Bhavesh, you know. And I think that's amazing, you know. That's really what I want from my career, you know.
And you're talking about Mirzya, the other day when I had Sayami on, somebody wrote from Israel saying now it's on Israeli TV with Hebrew translations. So there you are.
You know, also what's interesting is I've had people from abroad write to me that like Mirzya a lot more than Bhavesh Joshi, which is very crazy because obviously Bhavesh is the bona fide kind of like the loved one, you know, with the high ratings and the IMDb and the cult and all of that. But a lot of people watch Mirzya and they because maybe when they're from abroad, they're looking at it more from a visual, musical, Indian spectacle kind of standpoint as opposed to like a narrative.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't mind the abstraction so much. So it's interesting again, you know. You can have so many contrasting views on one thing.
True. And a whole somebody's written you look like Jake Gyllenhaal. Somebody's asked what are you reading currently?
Jake Gyllenhaal, I those are the two that I get. I get Jake Gyllenhaal, I get Andrew Garfield, but you can't see it so much because of the beard. But I get Jake Gyllenhaal. That's weird, you know, that I'm reading a book by Jeet Thayil called Low. It's not in here right now, but he's an Indian author, very, very like a brilliant, like a poet. So he has two books that I've been reading. One is called Low, and the other is called Narcopolis.
Okay. So
I've been trying to find a lot of local, like Bombay-based literature.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of Mohsin Hamid, who wrote A Reluctant Fundamentalist.
Oh yes.
So I'm a big fan of his book Moth Smoke. And then when I tried to find similar material, that kind of led me to Jeet Thayil. And then I found Low, which I've really enjoyed, and Narcopolis, which is also amazing. If you guys have time, you should check out those two books.
Somebody's written, would you want to direct and what kind of film would you want to direct?
Well, I think for me, direction is the ultimate dream, 100%. I think there can be nothing more exhilarating than getting your vision out there in a cinematic form. And I think that I'm learning a lot on my journey as an actor from some of the best directors. Having that first-hand experience to work with somebody like Mehra or Vikram a couple of times, you get to learn so much from the way that they deal with their HODs and, you know, the whole process. I think especially on Bhavesh, I learned a lot. And even though AK versus AK was only a couple of days for me on set, just seeing the same director having like a different approach because the two stories are so different was so interesting to see. And also how he deals with, like, he would deal with me very differently from some of the other actors on set. So I've learned a lot from him, I think. And I think that's the ultimate dream. Maybe when I feel like I found a story to tell that I feel I can tell in a unique way, maybe in my late 30s or something, a couple of years, 6, 7, 8, 9 years from now. I still feel I need to be a lot more enriched as a human being, to kind of take that massive responsibility. But 100%, I want to direct a film for sure at some point.
Awesome. And also, but just seeing your dad's post of working out. Are you keeping up with him working out? I mean, those biceps that he's been flaunting, man.
Can you imagine? The man is 63 years old.
Evergreen, Mr. Evergreen Kapoor, as I call him.
It's crazy. Yeah, he's been going at it. I've been working out pretty regularly too. So we've kind of been trying our best to stay fit, but he's kind of taken, because the thing with him is he's very busy a lot. When the world is normally functioning as usual, he's out and about, and he's a very busy and very committed man. So I think this time has given him that extra free time to just push himself to a point where he wouldn't normally be able to, because he had other commitments. So it's great to see. It's great to see.
So somebody has asked, which film of your dad's do you really like?
I like Mr. India. I like Parinda. I like My Wife's Murder,
Okay.
which is a film that he did with RGV back in the day. And I also like Nayak and Pukar a lot.
Wow. And
Virasat.
Virasat, of course, yes. And somebody's asked, any household chore or any talent you have picked up during this quarantine or lockdown?
No, I haven't. I've just been reading and exercising and watching films and eating, and although I have still been working on my craft as an actor, I have been working on scenes, which is so much fun. I love acting so much. I love finding a scene or a character that I enjoy doing. I love self-taping. I'm one of those actors that if you call me in for an audition, I'm the happiest person in the world. I love the whole idea of self-taping and testing and getting feedback and stuff like that. And now with Netflix and Amazon, being such a big part of our culture, you take that box office expectation away all of a sudden. I feel so liberated, because I never thought of Mirzya and Bhavesh Joshi as like, oh, I'm going to do these films, and then I'm going to have millions of billions of fans, and my photo is going to be everywhere. That was not my approach. My approach was more like, I want to do these films because I would like to see these films, and it was as simple as that. And I understand that positioning and all of that is so important, but I think now with digital, and you take away that P&A pressure, you take away that first day number pressure, and you're like a free bird. And I love the fact that I can do Bhavesh, and even if it doesn't make money, it can come onto Netflix, and it doesn't even matter anymore. Or I can do 10 minutes in AK versus AK, and that doesn't matter. We should all be free, right? Don't you agree that we should all be liberated like that?
True. And it's far more democratic also, the OTT platform. Far more democratic than films.
100%, 100%. And look, these are the best years of our lives. We're in an extremely privileged situation, and there are young artists that are trying to tell their stories, and we have to help those people. We have to help them get their vision out there. It can't always be about, I need to top my first day collection. If my collection is so much, this actress will do my film, or that. I think that chain of thought is fine, because you're an entertainer, and I get that it's a business, but I don't want to be limited by it. So would I like those things? Of course I would like those things, but at the cost of doing the kinds of films that I have, not at that cost. So that's a trade-off that I made very early, and I'm sticking by it. Somebody is saying, but you missed Andhadhun. So I want to clear this out. I actually agreed to do the film. I agreed to do the film readily. I love the script and everything, but unfortunately, Bhavesh Joshi faced too many delays, and I was not an experienced musician, and therefore I didn't have the timelines to learn a new instrument, and missed the shoot dates and missed the prep dates, and therefore we had to part ways. But I said yes to Mirzya, Bhavesh Joshi, Andhadhun, and Bindra, and 3 out of the 4 happened, and no regrets.
Oh, that's the way it should be. And what's destined for you comes to you, as they say.
Completely.
So what are you currently watching?
I am
recommendations
watching.
you can give us?
I have so many great recommendations for you guys. There's a film called The Souvenir. I'll just show it to you right here. I have a copy of it actually to share with the viewers.
Okay.
So it's called The Souvenir. It's stars Tilda Swinton, who you obviously must know, I think.
Yeah.
And it's actually the feature film acting debut of her daughter.
Oh, okay.
Who you find here on the cover.
Okay.
And it's a film directed by an incredible director called Joanna Hogg, and it's actually an autobiographical film in a way.
Okay.
So it's about Joanna's time spent studying film in London and her personal stories.
Wow.
Um,
Interesting.
and it's one of the most fascinating films that I've seen in recent times. It's one of the best films I think I've ever seen. Um, and then I have some recommendations actually here. I think this is one of my favorite films as well. It's a film called One-Eyed Jacks. This is a film that's actually directed by Marlon Brando
Oh, wow.
and stars Marlon Brando as well.
Sound.
Um, and
All the
he's at
Brando fans must catch it.
must. I'm the biggest Marlon Brando fan. I mean, I
Oh,
think he's
wow.
the greatest actor to have ever lived. And he's here directing the film himself, and he's at his smoldering, sexiest, most intense, best. And this film was a huge inspiration for me. He believes that less is more, and he's just such a phenomenal actor. So anybody that likes Marlon Brando, I would say this. And what else? What else do we have here? We have what else can I recommend? Yeah, this probably I would say one of the most visually stunning films of all time. It's a film directed by Wong Kar-wai. It's
Yeah.
called In the Mood for Love, and
Oh, yes, of course.
I'm sure you've
Yes,
seen it or heard of
fabulous,
it.
fabulous, fabulous film.
Incredible. It's like every frame is a picture postcard you can put on
Right.
your wall.
It's
So
literally
just
poetry. Every frame is, I mean, it's
completely,
poetry. Yeah.
and I truly believe that cinema is a visual medium, and which is why I love Wong Kar-wai and Terrence Malick, and I think locally with Mirzya we tried to do something. We kind of might have failed for some or succeeded for some, but we tried to tell a story purely with visuals, music, and silences, and that's very different for newcomers. But I'm glad we put that out there. So these are three quick recommendations.
Awesome.
Uh, and I think also really quickly, there is a show on Amazon Prime called Too Old to Die Young,
Okay.
which stars the actor that did Whiplash, Miles Teller.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from the director of Drive that starred Ryan Gosling. That's an incredible show. So yeah, get these films and that show, first thing that comes to my mind.
All right. Thank you so much, Harsh. Lovely chatting with you. Hope to see you in person very soon now.
Yes, please. Let's do a quick couple of minutes when AK versus AK is ready to just talk about it or whatever.
Exactly. And let's
Okay.
just like affirm everything is behind us and we are all back to living our lives the way we should.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. I will pray.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Harsh.
Thank you.